Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 18th December today, and in this video we are going to solve different types of questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. Before we'll start solving these questions, I would like to give you the brief introduction about the video so that if you are new to this channel, you would get more connected with the video. You know, In this video, we try to solve different types of questions, and if we will divide these questions, they would come in three different parts. The first part of our discussion would be related to the current affairs based questions. What we will do? We will take up the most important articles from the newspapers, we break them down into the simplest language possible, and derive the prelims based questions from those particular articles so that it will give the idea how the questions can be asked from the current affairs daily, how the questions can be asked from the daily newspapers. For example, if your IAS faculty is reading the newspaper right now and he has to frame the IAS paper for you, how he could form a question from that particular article. So this is the idea which we will give you here. And also, after discussing the questions related to the current affairs, we take up the second part of our discussion where we will take up the questions from the static topics. If you had followed me, you would definitely know that we had started discussing the articles, we had started discussing the static topics also here, and we started with Indian polity. Right now we are discussing the DPSPs, and today's question would be based on Article 45 of Indian Constitution. After solving these questions with respect to the current affairs and the static part, we will shift our approach towards the last part of where we will solve static topic. Where at the end we will solve questions. We will solve some previous year questions. In the third part of our discussion, we will solve some previous year questions and get the idea how the questions are framed, how actually the questions are framed by the UPSC, and what can be the ways and methods by which we can solve these questions, and also how we can implement this knowledge from the previous year questions in the upcoming exam, as it is very much essential for a UPSC aspirant to go through the previous year question papers. So this is in a nutshell about our discussion, what we are going to discuss here. Now, before we will start solving these questions, I would like to request you guys few things which I believe you should follow, which I believe is going to play a huge part in your in clearing your exam. you know First of all, if I was at your place, what I will do? I will start noting down these questions. I will keep note of these questions, or I will develop my own question bank from these questions, as I know where from I am framing these questions. I am framing these questions from the current affairs, from static part, from previous year questions, so they are going to play a huge role in my preparation. When I will have these questions with me and my exams would be near, at that time I would want to go through my syllabus. I would want to go through this static part again. I would want to cover my whole year's current affairs. I would want to go through the previous year questions, but at that time the time is very much limited. Time won't permit me. But if I have these questions with me, what I will do? I would just go through these questions. These questions would definitely connect to me with the current affairs. They will connect me with the static part. They will also give me the news, and they will also give me the analysis of previous year questions. These questions are going to play a vital role in my preparation. Now, after this, I hope you would definitely note down these questions, or at least take the screenshot of these questions. After this, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel if you had not subscribed yet. Please share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. And also, please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you. This initiative is for you guys. We are here to help you. Please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you. We are humans. We may tend to make mistakes. We may make mistakes, and we try our best to not make mistakes. If there is any found, please do write in the comments. We will try to clear that. If any confusion would be there in our discussion, please write in the comments. We will try to clear that confusion. Now with this, let's start solving these questions one by one. Here, the first question, it is associated with the universal health coverage. Let's see what does the question say. Question says, consider the following statements regarding the challenges faced in implementing the universal health care coverage in India. Here the question talks about what are the various challenges with respect to the implementation of the universal health care coverage in India. Here you may ask me a question, sir, why we had brought this question here. The answer to this question is directly in the newspaper today. So now let's go to the little bit about the context of this question. Before we will do the analysis of the context of this question, I would like to say one thing about our initiative which is very unique to it. We just not only discuss the questions here, we also give you the news analysis also, as we are discussing current affairs based questions. So it directly we are forced to give you the news analysis so that you will get the context of these questions. Now this makes it very unique initiative and very much helpful for you. It gives you the news analysis as well as the quiz. So I hope this is important to mention here. Now let's go to the context why we had brought this question. Here the news article was universal health coverage, what are the challenges associated with it. About universal health coverage, the WHO, they had given the definition of it. What does it mean? It means to get the access to quality health care without facing higher financial burden. In our country, if we will see what are the problems associated with the health care, you know and one thing very much important about it is it was also mentioned by the National Family Health Survey in 2029 and to 2021. They gave this survey what are the challenges faced by the healthcare system in India. In India, if we will see, there was a survey conducted, and it was found out that more than 50% of the population in India, more than 50% of the population in India, they rely on private hospitals. So this is very much astonishing and it is very much surprising. In our country we have good so far we have, if we will compare it with our neighbors, we have better health infrastructure, we have better government health infrastructure, but still more than 50% people, more than 50% of our population, they rely on private hospitals. So what could it lead to? It would definitely lead to the financial burden. Private hospitals, they are much profit driven. They consider they are much corporate in nature, they are much profit driven, and when anybody goes to the private hospital, they have to spend a lot of money with respect to that. So it would definitely create the financial burden for the patient. And also it was found that more than 60% of the women, when the survey was conducted, it was found that more than 60% of the women in our country, they get it is very hard for them to get the access to the health care. It is very difficult for them to get the access to the health care. So this is another problem which was found in it. And the third very important problem in it, the out of pocket expenditure in our country associated with the healthcare system. The out of pocket expenditure in our country is very huge, where people have to spend a lot of money from their pocket. So this creates huge burden. And also it was found that because of the huge out of pocket expenditure in our country, it is said that due to health care crisis, when it comes to any patient, to any family, it is said that 15% of our population is driven to poverty if anybody gets if anybody needs health care services, then the out of pocket expenditure they spend on it. This leads to their shifting, this leads to the shift of them, this leads to their poverty. 15% of our population gets into poverty, fall into poverty due to healthcare expenditures. So this is right now the condition of our healthcare system. So in this regard, the government of India is looking for the universal health coverage, and this article in the newspaper today, it cited out various challenges associated with the universal health care coverage in our country. It cited out there are no sufficient availability of the skilled workers. Even though we have hospitals, but the skilled workers which we need doctors, we need OT technicians. We would have often heard this statement that they went to the hospital and doctors were not there. So there are not sufficient healthcare workers in our country. So this is the one of the issue in implementing the universal health coverage. Second, because of the presence of private sectors, as I already discussed, that they are very much profit driven, they are over commercialized. So they always think of their profit. So because of that, there would be huge out of profit expenditure, and they attract, as we saw, that they attract more than 50% of our population. So it would be one of the hinder in our in implementing the universal health care coverage in our country. And also, one of the important thing which was mentioned in the article, it talked about the expenditure which the government is spending on healthcare system, on our healthcare. It is said that approximately 1.2% of the GDP is spent on the healthcare system, on the healthcare, which is very much below than what was recommended by the WHO. WHO has recommended that how much a country should spend on the healthcare. It should be around 3 to 4% of the, according to WHO, it should be around 3 to 4% of the GDP which the country should spend on healthcare. But unfortunately, in our country, we spend only 1 to 2%, 1 to 1.2% of our GDP on healthcare. So these are various issues, various hindrances to the universal health care coverage in our country. So I hope by discussing these important points, you had understood what was in the news today, and also what are the challenges associated with the healthcare system in our country. Now let us solve this question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding the challenges faced in the implementing universal healthcare coverage in India. First statement, inadequate infrastructure, 100% correct. It is explained as lack of sufficient healthcare facilities, especially in rural and remote areas, and a shortage of trained medical and paramedical personnel pose significant challenges. 100% correct. That is what we discussed. Second, inequitable access, socioeconomic disparities, geographical barriers, and discrimination based on caste, gender, and religion continue to hinder equitable access to healthcare service for all citizens. 100% correct. This inequitable access, which includes socio-economic disparities, which includes geographical barriers, and also the social issues which are still prevailing in our country, cause are the major burden or the major hurdles to the universal health care coverage. Then third, financial constraints. It is also one of the main point which we also discussed. The high cost of healthcare in our country, including expensive treatment and medications, coupled with inadequate public funding and low government expenditure on health, pose a major financial burden on individuals and families. Also, this is one of the major issues. This is also correct. Then lack of data and information system, absence of robust data on healthcare, health needs, resource allocation, and service utilizations hampers effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of UHCC programs. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the four statements are correct. These all four, when added together, they play a very hindering role with respect to the implementation of the universal health care coverage. So I hope by solving this question, you had got the basic idea what are the challenges faced in implementing universal health care coverage, and also you had got the context behind this question. With this, let's move to the another question and try to solve that. Here the question is about, consider the following statements regarding the impact of artificial intelligence in surveillance. So this is one of the major issues. It is also this article, which why we had brought this question, because of the news article in the newspaper, and it also criticized how a negative impact this artificial intelligence can play in surveillance. There is if we look at the news article itself, it said that the legal gap in India, unregulated AI surveillance, how India is not yet prepared for the AI in surveillance. As government announced that they are using AI in surveillance, but the regulations are not in line with the demands of present time. There it can, AI in surveillance, it can play a huge role in it. It can have huge good impacts. It can play the better role. For example, as in the first option, it says that AI powered surveillance system can enhance public safety by enabling faster and more accurate identification of potential threats. It will play a huge role in it. It will give the more faster signals to the authorities if any potential threat is there. you know It can help in identifying certain people who are missing or who had escaped. It can help in identifying the terrorists. It can help in managing the crowds when the time is needed. But there are various concerns to it also. So, what are the concerns? The major concern with respect is of the privacy. Privacy in present times is the major concern associated with anything. Everybody likes to be everybody's privacy. In the present times, everybody wants his privacy to be respected. So this is one of the major issue with the AI surveillance. Here the author raises some questions. For example, who is going to monitor it? If there is AI in surveillance, who is going to monitor it? What data it will collect, and for how much time this data would be with them, and what kind of data it would be. And also, if this data is collected, is it collected by the consent of the people, or it is collected without the consent of the people? So there are major issues with it, which the author raises here about the issues related to the privacy of the people. So this is in nutshell about this article, what was in the newspaper. Now, by solving this question, you will get more idea about it. What are its negative impacts? As the positive impact, which we clearly saw here, that it would help in surveillance. AI-powered surveillance system can enhance public safety by enabling faster and more accurate identification of potential threats. Second, the use of facial recognition technology by AI can lead to mass surveillance and potential violation of individual privacy, which we discussed. 100% correct. AI algorithms can be biased, leading to discriminatory surveillance practices and disproportionate targeting of certain communities. 100% correct. We had seen such cases, how many questions were asked to ChatGPT and it had showed it's biased towards some communities. And also the fourth statement, the deployment of AI in surveillance system increases the risk of cyber attacks and data breaches comprising sensitive personal information. 100% correct. So with respect this question, the impact of artificial intelligence in surveillance, all the four statements are correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option D. So what is the way forward to these issues which are raised by the author here? The way forward is have a policy where you will put in public, where you will tell public what you are you have to frame a policy where you will tell public what you are collecting, how long you will collect it. You have to be very much transparent with the public. You have to ensure the public that it won't be misused. And also the author says that there should be the involvement of judiciary in protecting the protecting the personal private rights for individuals. So there should be, judiciary should be involved in it. Judiciary should oversee it. So this was in nutshell about this article. This was in nutshell about the question. I hope you had understood it. And now with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about, consider the following statements regarding the minimum support price in Indian agriculture. Here the question is about minimum support price in Indian agriculture. Why we had brought this question? Because the parliamentary committee, they had recommended now that government should, what they should do, they should give the statutory status to the minimum support price, which the farmers were demanding during the farmers protest. Now, with respect to this parliamentary committee, it also highlighted a few issues. First, it said that they should give the statutory status to the MSP, statutory status to MSP. So this was one issue which was highlighted by the parliamentary committee. Second issue which they highlighted is that in PM Kisan right now, as it was started in 2019, from that time they are giving 6,000 direct benefit transfer, 6K. Now according to this parliamentary committee report, they believe that it should be increased to double. For that is, it should be increased to 12K per farmer. And also there should be when there are tariff wars going on between two countries, or whenever there are some export import policies framed by the government, at that time the concerns of the farmers are not taken into consideration. For example, if the government is going to ban the tomato exports, it would definitely impact the farmers because they will get less money for that. So with respect that this committee, this parliamentary committee, they said that they should a new type of a new type of committee should undertake this issue, in which the representation of farmers should be also there, which would discuss about the export import policies related to agriculture. So these are three major issues which were raised by the parliamentary committee report with respect to this with respect to the Indian agriculture, especially with respect to MSP, minimum support price. Now with this, let us try to solve this question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding minimum support price in India. First statement, MSP acts as a price floor, ensuring that farmers receive a guaranteed minimum price for their produce. 100% correct. When, for suppose, when the MSP is when it is given the legal backing, when it is given the statutory status, what it will inspire more farmers to invest. They will feel farmers will feel very protected in it. They will feel that if they will invest in it, it will not get waste. So it will definitely invite more farmers to invest in agriculture, and it would bring the food stability in our country, and it will definitely increase the it will definitely give the financial stability to the farmers. So this is going to play a huge role in our country. And with respect to MSP, this statement, it is 100% correct. It acts as a price floor, ensuring that farmers receive guaranteed minimum price for their produce. Second, MSP is applicable to all agricultural commodities produced in India. Totally incorrect. It is not applicable to all agricultural commodities. Third statement, MSP is determined by the Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices. 100% correct. Based on various factors including cost of production, market price, and international prices. 100% correct. This is 100% correct statement. Coming to the fourth statement, MSP has been instrumental in improving the income of farmers and reducing their vulnerability to price fluctuation. 100% correct. That's why it will invite more farmers to invest in agriculture if the particular seeds are given this MSP status, and this status would be will have this legal backing. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1, statement 3, and statement 4, and from the code given below, the correct code would be option C. Now with this, let's move to the another question and solve it. Here the question talks about the national education policy. Question says, how many times has the government of India framed the national education policy? The answer to this is 4. In which years? If we will see, the first national education policy was in 1968. Then the second was in 1986. Third, 1992. And the fourth is 2020. So these are the 4 national education policies which were framed by the government of India. Now why we had brought this question here? Because there was an article in the newspaper which basically talks about the students being stuck in the classrooms, and teachers also. According to the national education policy 2020, for graduates, students have to spend at least 20 hours in a week in classrooms. So which is very much against what the West is doing. In West, the students have to spend in a week only 12 hours. So here the author of this article, he discussed that how they are how the students get more time in the classrooms, and because of what time in the classrooms, they are not able to do their co-curricular activities. They are not able to go for the self studies. They can do various things in that, and also teachers are forced to stay in the room, so that it limits the capability of the teachers too. So these are the issues which were highlighted by the author, and he believes that the government should look towards the West what they are doing, and we should follow that framework. So this is in nutshell about the article, and it became the mention of how many times the national education policy has been framed. Such questions can be asked by the UPSC, and they had asked such questions even in the previous exam too, with related to something different. So we have to be prepared very well with respect to the numbering also. Now with this, let's move to the another question and try to solve it. Here the question is about the National Testing Agency. The question says, consider the following statements about the National Testing Agency. Why we had brought this question about the National Testing Agency? Because the panel recommending restructuring of National Testing Agency panel. This panel was led by an ex-ISRO chief. Ex-ISRO chief has led this panel, and he has advised that NTA should be restructured, and it has given various various things, various reforms which the NTA should follow. Recently we had seen that many papers were leaked during the exams, and so with respect to that, the reform, the panel was recommended, the committee was formed, and it was headed by the ex-ISRO chief. And according to him, that he gave few recommendations which are as if you don't, first recommendation was, if you don't have expertise in any field, then you should not jump into it. Right now the NTA should focus on conducting exams for the entrance. Then second, the NTA should protect the integrity of the test. They should try to use fast printers at centers, and also GG exam concept should be there, so that there would be least paper leaks and more checks would be on the exam. And also the centers should be, the availability of the centers, availability of the test in the rural areas, regional accessibility to be increased. That NTA should try their best to increase the regional accessibility. NTA should be, and also according to him, it should be restructured. There should be grievance redressal mechanism which the students can interact with. So these are few recommendations given by this panel, and with respect to NTA we need to know few things which may be asked in the exam. First statement, NTA is an autonomous and non-profit testing organization in India. 100% correct. NTA conducts entrance examination for various undergraduate, postgraduate and fellowship programs. 100% correct, nothing wrong with this statement. NTA was established in 2017 to conduct entrance exams for higher educational institutions. 100% correct. Fourth, NTA conducts the joint entrance exam JEE and the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test NEET. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the four statements are correct. So this is I guess more than important, more than enough for you about the NTA, and also by discussing the context we had got why it was in the news. Now after that, there is a last article with respect to the current affairs. It talks about basically about the dark fleet, in shipping. Why we are discussing this question? Because the UK announces curbs on 20 Russian ships part of shadow fleet. Dark fleet or shadow fleet or grey fleet, one and the same thing. So UK, they had announced curbs on 20 Russian ships part of dark shadow fleet. So why this is in the news? What is this dark fleet? What is the concept behind it? That we can understand through question also, but let me give the little explanation here. Then after that we will go to the questions. After the Russia-Ukraine war had started, the G7 countries, they put ban on trade with Russia, especially the oil trade of the Russia. They put sanctions on them, and but still the Russia is trying their best to to stop these sanctions. They are evading these sanctions, and the ships, they use these ships secretly with respect to that, and the ships which are involved in supplying these oils or any banned substance, those ships are called dark fleet. Now this is little bit info about it. Now by solving this question you will get more idea about it, I believe so. The first statement, the dark fleet refers to a group of ships that operate clandestinely, which means secretly, often to evade sanctions or engage in illegal activities. 100% correct. This is exactly what the dark fleet are. They are the group of ships what they are. These ships may employ tactics such as switching off their automatic identification system to avoid detection. 100% correct. This is the technique which they use. So with respect to this question, one statement, first statement is correct, second statement is correct, third statement, the dark fleet is primarily associated with the transportation of legal goods like consumer electronics and agricultural products. Totally incorrect. Fourth, the rise of the dark fleet in a recent phenomena primarily a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. Totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 2 only. And from the code given below, the correct code would be option A. So with this, we complete our discussion with respect to the current affairs. I hope you had understood every concept which we discussed here. I hope you had understood every question which we discussed here, and I hope I was very much clear in explaining these questions, in explaining the context of the questions. Now with this, let's shift our approach towards the another part of our discussion where we will solve the static part questions, static part topics. As you know, right now we are discussing the DPSPs. We are discussing DPSPs, which you should know that we are discussing DPSPs, and they belong to the part 4 of the Indian Constitution. And one important thing about DPSPs are they are not enforceable. We can't go to the courts that the government is not giving us these particular rights. So with respect to this, right now we have reached Article 45 of the Constitution, of our Constitution. So let's understand what Article 45 says here by the help of this question. If we will see the original provisions of Article 45, it said that to provide free and compulsory education for children. What it exactly said that the state shall endeavor to provide within a period of 10 years after the independence, after the commencement of the Constitution, exactly after the commencement of the Constitution, after 10 years, the state should endeavor to provide the free and compulsory education for all children until they complete the age of 14. Earlier, it was until the children will complete the age of 14, the state should provide them free education. But it was 86th Constitutional Amendment Act in 2002. By the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002, this line was changed, by the following. It was changed that the state shall endeavor to provide early childhood care and education for all children until they complete the age of 6. So it was this term was changed to that early childhood care and education for all children until they complete the age of 6 years. So this is in a nutshell about the Article 45. Now, by the help of this question, we will understand more about it. First statement, it says, with respect to this question, to ensure universal access to higher education for all citizens, not for higher education. This is totally incorrect. Second, to promote the development of scientific and technological research. Totally incorrect. Even though they may seem very much near, but totally incorrect. Third, to provide early childhood care and free and compulsory education for all children until they complete the age of 6 years. 100% correct. It was brought in by the help of the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act in 2002. Fourth, to establish a uniform system of education across all states in India. Totally incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option C. With this, let's move to the last question of today's discussion, which we would discuss from the previous year question. Here, the question was asked as, a little paragraph was given about the person and little info about him was given, which is very much essential. Here, a question says he wrote biographies of Mazzini, Garibaldi, Shivaji, and Shri Krishna. This is his work. He wrote. What does the question here says? Gives us few ideas about the person that he has wrote biographies of these particular persons, and he stayed in America for some time and was also elected to the Central Assembly. Who was that person? Now, you know how this question can be re-asked in the exam. They may directly ask you a question about these particular persons, and they will tell you who wrote the biographies of this person, and they will give different options in that, or they will directly ask you a question from the options below and tell you among these persons who had wrote the biographies of these they will give the biographies and they will tell you match the following with the persons who had wrote the biographies. So they can ask you a question from this question itself in different ways, and they have this habit of repeating the questions or repeating the statements. Now coming to this question, who is the correct option to this? It is Lala Lajpat Rai, who is associated with the biographies of Majini, Garibaldi, Shivaji and Shri Krishna. And also he stayed in the UK for he stayed in the US for some time, and also he was elected to the Central Assembly. So the correct option, which seems correct for this question, is option C. Now with this, I hope we had done enough for today's discussion. We had solved enough questions. We had discussed questions related to current affairs, related to static part and this current previous year question. I hope you had understood everything. If there is any confusion left, please do write in the comments. I will try to clear it for you guys. And please share it with your friends and also subscribe the channel. It would be the token of appreciation from your side. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you very much. Thank you for staying with me. God bless you. Have a best life.